A man once bought a brand new diary on January 1st, beautiful cover, golden pages, big dreams on January 2nd, nothing, January 10th, still nothing, December 31st, only one line written, this year went very fast. We laugh. But deep inside we relate. Every year we change the calendar, but forget to change our habits, our thinking, and our priorities. So today, as we welcome 2026, the real question is not, what do I want this year? The real question is, who do I want to become this year? When a new year begins, there is a strange kind of excitement in the air. Calendars change, phones get new wallpapers, and suddenly everything feels possible. We tell ourselves, this year will be different. We believe that just because the number has changed, our life will automatically upgrade. But after a few weeks, reality gently reminds us of something important. Time changes on its own, but life does not. The truth is, a new year is not a magic switch. It does not erase old habits, unfinished goals, or unhealed patterns. Many people wait for January 1st the way farmers wait for rain, hoping it will do the hard work for them. But just like rain alone cannot grow crops without seeds and effort, a new year cannot create change without conscious action. Often, the problem is not lack of motivation, it is misunderstanding how change actually works. We think transformation should feel exciting, dramatic, and fast. But real change is usually quiet, uncomfortable, and slow. It happens when you wake up on an ordinary day and still choose discipline over distraction. It happens when no one is watching, when there is no applause, and when the excitement has faded. Another illusion of the new year is the belief that circumstances will improve first, and then we will improve. We tell ourselves, when things become easier, I'll become better. But life works the other way around. When you become better in how you think, act, and respond, your circumstances begin to shift. Waiting for the perfect moment is often just a polite way of postponing growth. The calendar gives everyone the same 24 hours, but the difference between people is not time, it is intention. Two people can start the same year in the same situation, yet end it in completely different places. One expects the year to change them. The other decides to change within the year. The second person does not rely on motivation. They rely on commitment. A new year also tempts us to be overly ambitious. We make long lists of goals without understanding the cost of maintaining them. When those goals collapse, we feel guilty and call ourselves lazy. But the problem was never laziness. It was unrealistic expectation. Sustainable growth does not come from sudden promises, but from small, repeatable actions that fit into real life. If the past year taught anything, it is this. Repeating the same choices while expecting a different outcome leads only to frustration. Growth begins the moment you stop blaming time and start taking responsibility. The year ahead will not test your luck. It will test your consistency, your patience, and your willingness to do the simple things every day. The new year is not a fresh life. It is a fresh opportunity. An opportunity to think a little deeper, react a little calmer, and live a little more consciously. When expectations shift from the year will change me, to I will change my approach to life. The illusion breaks and real progress begins. This is where true transformation starts, not with the calendar turning, but with awareness turning inward. Most people dream of big changes, a big promotion, a big transformation, a big breakthrough. The mind loves dramatic stories because they feel exciting and inspiring. But life rarely changes in one grand moment. Life changes quietly, through the smallest decisions repeated over time. The problem is that small habits look too simple to matter, so we ignore them while waiting for something extraordinary to happen. Every destination, no matter how far, is reached one step at a time. No one suddenly becomes healthy, confident, disciplined, or peaceful in a single day. These qualities are built slowly, like savings in a bank account. A little effort deposited daily may not look impressive at first, but over time it creates stability and freedom. In the same way, small habits may not give instant results, but they always give permanent results. Many people underestimate the power of what they do consistently and overestimate the power of what they do occasionally. Reading one motivational book feels powerful, but reading a few pages every day changes thinking. Exercising once a week feels productive, but moving the body daily transforms health. Silence for 5 minutes every day can calm a mind more deeply than a long break taken once in a while. Small habits also reduce resistance. Big goals often feel heavy, and the mind naturally looks for excuses to avoid them, but the mind rarely argues with something simple. Drinking one extra glass of water, waking up 10 minutes earlier, or writing one honest page feels manageable. When habits are easy to start, they are easy to continue. Consistency grows when effort feels light but regular. Another important truth is that habits shape identity. What you do daily becomes who you believe you are. When you show up for a small habit every day, you silently send yourself a message: I am someone who keeps promises. That message builds self-trust, and self-trust builds confidence. Confidence does not come from big achievements alone. It comes from honoring small commitment. Many people quit small habits because they do not see immediate results. They forget that growth often happens invisibly before it becomes visible. Roots grow underground long before a plant appears above the soil. In the same way, discipline, clarity, and strength develop internally before showing up in external success. Trusting the process is part of the habit itself. Small habits also protect you on difficult days. Motivation comes and goes, but habits remain. On days when energy is low and emotions are heavy, you may not feel like doing much, but a small habit still feels possible. That is how progress continues even during tough times, without burnout or guilt. Life does not require perfection, it requires direction. A slight improvement repeated daily can completely change the direction of a year. When small habits align with your values, they quietly guide you toward a better version of yourself. Without noise, without pressure, and without forcing change, they reshape your future one simple action at a time. This is why the smallest steps often lead to the biggest destinations. Most people believe they are living their lives, but in reality, they are running on habit and reaction. Days begin without intention and end without reflection. One task leads to another, one notification leads to another, and before anyone realizes it, weeks and months pass without truly being experienced. Life moves forward, but the mind is rarely present in it. Living on autopilot feels comfortable because it requires no effort. Decisions are made based on routine, fear, or convenience rather than clarity. The same reactions repeat, the same patterns continue, and the same results appear, not because life is unfair, but because awareness is missing. When awareness is absent, choice disappears, and when choice disappears, growth stops. Many actions are driven by conditioning rather than consciousness. People say yes when they want to say no, react emotionally when silence would be wiser, and chase goals that were never deeply chosen. This happens not due to lack of intelligence, but due to lack of pause. A mind that never stops cannot see where it is going. Awareness begins with simple moments of stillness. Even a brief pause before responding can change the direction of a conversation. A moment of reflection before making a decision can prevent regret. These pauses create space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies freedom. Without that space, life becomes a series of automatic reactions. Distractions strengthen autopilot living. Constant scrolling, endless noise, and information overload keep the mind busy but not fulfilled. The mind gets used to stimulation and forgets how to sit with itself. Over time, this creates restlessness, impatience, and dissatisfaction, even when life appears successful on the outside. When awareness increases, life begins to feel deeper and more meaningful. Simple activities become richer. Conversations become more genuine. Decisions become more aligned. Awareness does not require isolation or drastic change. It requires attention. Paying attention to thoughts, emotions, and behaviors reveals patterns that were previously invisible. Responsibility also grows with awareness. It becomes harder to blame circumstances or other people when you see your own role clearly. This responsibility is not heavy, it is empowering. It shifts control back into your hands. Instead of feeling stuck, you begin to see choices where you once saw limitations. Living consciously does not mean controlling everything. It means responding with understanding rather than reacting with habit. It means knowing when to act and when to let go. Over time, this way of living creates calm, clarity, and direction. When life is lived with awareness, even ordinary days feel meaningful. The same routines remain, but the experience changes. You are no longer just moving through time, you are actually living within it. Comparison often begins quietly. It does not announce itself as jealousy or insecurity. It enters as a simple thought, they are doing better than me. At first, it seems harmless, even motivating. But over time, that thought grows heavier and starts affecting how you see yourself, your progress, and your worth. Without realizing it, joy begins to depend on how others are doing rather than how far you have come. The modern world makes comparison almost unavoidable. Every day, carefully selected images and success stories are placed in front of our eyes. What we see are finished results, smiling faces, and achievements without context. What we do not see are the struggles, doubts, sacrifices, and failures behind them. Comparing your entire journey with someone else's highlight moments is an unfair evaluation, yet the mind keeps doing it. Comparison slowly damages gratitude. Instead of appreciating what is present, attention shifts to what is missing. Achievements lose their sweetness because someone else seems to have more. Progress feels small because another person is moving faster. Even peace gets disturbed, not because life is bad, but because expectations are shaped by someone else's path. Another hidden danger of comparison is that it creates unnecessary pressure. People begin chasing goals that do not match their values, abilities, or circumstances. Not because those goals matter deeply, but because others are pursuing them. This leads to exhaustion, confusion, and dissatisfaction. A life lived to impress others rarely feels fulfilling. Everyone starts from a different place and carries a different set of responsibilities, strengths, and challenges. Growth is not a race with a common finish line. Some paths are longer, some are steeper, and some require patience rather than speed. Judging your progress using someone else's timeline only creates frustration. Comparison also weakens self-trust. When attention is constantly outward, confidence becomes fragile. Decisions are doubted, efforts feel insufficient, and self-worth becomes conditional. Instead of listening to inner guidance, people begin measuring themselves against external validation. True growth happens when focus returns inward, when energy is invested in improving skills, mindset, and character rather than monitoring others. Inspiration can be healthy, but it must uplift, not diminish. The moment inspiration turns into self-criticism, it loses its value. Letting go of comparison does not mean ignoring others. It means respecting differences. It means understanding that someone else's success does not reduce your potential. There is enough space in life for everyone to grow in their own way. When comparison fades, peace returns. Effort feels lighter, progress feels personal, and happiness becomes independent. Life stops being about proving something and starts being about becoming someone at your own pace, in your own way. Failure is often misunderstood. It is seen as a sign of weakness, incompetence, or the end of the road. From a young age, many people are taught to avoid mistakes, to fear losing, and to hide anything that looks like failure. As a result, fear becomes stronger than curiosity, and comfort becomes more attractive than growth. In reality, failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of it. Every meaningful achievement carries moments of doubt, rejection, and disappointment behind it. What separates those who grow from those who stay stuck is not the absence of failure, but the response to it. Some people see failure as a full stop, while others see it as a comma. Failure hurts because it challenges identity. When something goes wrong, people often say, "I failed," instead of "this attempt failed." That one sentence changes everything. When failure becomes personal, self-worth suffers. When failure is seen as feedback, learning begins. Detaching self-esteem from outcomes allows growth to continue without emotional paralysis. Many lessons cannot be learned through comfort. Failure forces reflection. It slows you down and makes you examine what worked, what didn't, and why. It removes illusion and replaces it with clarity. The pain associated with failure is often temporary, but the wisdom gained can last a lifetime. Fear of failure often leads to inaction. People delay starting, avoid risks, or quit early to protect their image. But the cost of not trying is often greater than the cost of failing. Regret lasts longer than disappointment. Growth demands courage, and courage includes the willingness to fall and stand up again. Failure also builds resilience. Each time you recover from a setback, emotional strength increases. You realize that you can survive discomfort, adapt, and move forward. This inner strength cannot be taught through success alone. It is earned through adversity. Another important truth is that failure humbles and humanizes. It softens arrogance and increases empathy. People who have failed understand struggle better and treat others with more compassion. In this way, failure not only shapes ability but also character. Over time, repeated effort changes the relationship with failure. It no longer feels like an enemy but like a guide. Each mistake becomes a signal pointing toward improvement. Confidence grows not from always being right, but from knowing you can handle being wrong. When failure is accepted as a teacher rather than feared as a threat, progress becomes steady and meaningful. Life stops being about avoiding mistakes and starts becoming about learning deeply and moving forward with wisdom. Relationships often suffer not because of lack of love, but because of lack of attention. In the beginning, effort comes naturally. Words are thoughtful, listening is easy, and time is willingly given. Over time, familiarity creates assumptions. People assume understanding without checking, support without asking, and connection without nurturing. Slowly, distance grows where closeness once existed. Many misunderstand relationships as something that should run on emotion alone. but emotions fluctuate. What sustains relationships is intention. Just like any living thing, relationships need regular care. Small gestures, honest conversations, and simple presence act as nourishment. Without them, even strong bonds weaken. One of the most common issues in relationships is listening to respond instead of listening to understand. People wait for their turn to speak rather than trying to feel what the other person is experiencing. This creates conversations where words are exchanged, but connection is missing. Being heard is often more healing than being advised. Time plays a crucial role in relationships, not in quantity but in quality. Being physically present while mentally elsewhere creates loneliness. True presence means attention without distraction. It tells the other person, without words, you matter. In a world full of noise, undivided attention has become a rare and valuable gift. Expectations also shape relationships. Unspoken expectations often lead to disappointment. When people expect others to behave according to their own emotional language, misunderstandings arise. Clear communication, even when uncomfortable, prevents long-term resentment. Silence may feel peaceful in the moment, but unresolved emotions grow heavier with time. Relationships also require forgiveness. Mistakes are inevitable because humans are imperfect. Holding on to resentment does not protect the heart, it hardens it. Forgiveness is not about forgetting or justifying behavior. It is about choosing peace over prolonged pain. It frees emotional space for understanding and growth. Another overlooked aspect of relationships is appreciation. People notice what is missing more easily than what is present. Gratitude expressed regularly strengthens bonds. Acknowledging effort, kindness, and support reassures people that they are valued, not taken for granted. Strong relationships do not demand perfection. They thrive on patience, empathy, and willingness to grow together. Maintenance does not mean constant effort. It means consistent care. When relationships are treated as priorities rather than conveniences, they become sources of strength rather than stress. Healthy relationships remind us that connection is not automatic. It is cultivated. Through listening, presence, honesty, and compassion, relationships remain alive, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. In today's world, success is often measured by speed, status, and visible achievements. The faster you move and the more you accumulate, the more successful you are considered to be. But there is a quiet crisis hidden beneath this definition. Many people are winning externally while losing internally. They achieve goals but feel restless, exhausted, and disconnected. This is because outer success without inner peace creates imbalance. Mental peace is not the absence of problems. It is the ability to remain steady in their presence. Life will always bring challenges, uncertainty, and pressure. Waiting for everything to become perfect before feeling calm is unrealistic. Peace comes from how the mind responds, not from how the world behaves. A trained mind suffers less even in difficult situations. The constant pressure to perform and prove creates unnecessary stress. When self-worth depends on productivity or approval, the mind never rests. Every moment becomes a competition, and comparison becomes constant. Over time, this leads to burnout, anxiety, and emotional fatigue. The body may continue functioning, but the mind becomes tired. Rest is often misunderstood as laziness. In reality, rest is maintenance. Just as the body needs sleep, the mind needs pauses. Silence, reflection, and slowing down allow mental clarity to return. Without these breaks, decision-making weakens and emotions become harder to manage. Productivity without rest eventually leads to decline. Setting boundaries is another essential part of mental peace. Saying yes to everything often means saying no to yourself. Overcommitting drains energy and increases resentment. Learning to say no with respect protects emotional well-being. Boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that preserve balance. Another source of mental disturbance is overthinking. The mind replays past events and imagines future problems that may never happen. This habit steals peace from the present moment. Awareness helps break this cycle. Observing thoughts instead of believing every thought reduces their power. Not every thought deserves attention or reaction. Mental peace also grows through acceptance. Fighting reality drains energy, while accepting what cannot be changed creates calm. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means understanding what is within control and what is not. When effort is focused on what can be influenced, life feels lighter and more manageable. A peaceful mind allows clearer priorities. Decisions become wiser, reactions become calmer, and relationships improve. Peace does not slow progress, it improves direction. When the mind is calm, actions are intentional rather than impulsive. True success is not just reaching goals, but maintaining inner balance while pursuing them. A peaceful mind supports long-term growth, emotional stability, and genuine happiness. When peace becomes a priority, life begins to feel whole rather than hurried. Gratitude is often misunderstood as something you practice only when life is going well. Many believe it is a reaction to comfort and success. In reality, gratitude is a perspective, not a condition. It does not wait for everything to be perfect. It changes how imperfections are seen. When gratitude is present, the mind shifts from what is lacking to what is already supporting life. The human mind has a natural tendency to focus on problems. It quickly notices what is missing, delayed, or imperfect. While this tendency once helped survival, today it often steals peace. Gratitude gently retrains the mind to notice balance instead of imbalance. It does not deny difficulties, but it prevents difficulties from becoming the entire story. Small things often go unnoticed until they are gone. Health, routine, supportive people, and simple opportunities are taken for granted because they are consistent. Gratitude brings attention back to these unnoticed blessings. When appreciation grows, dissatisfaction reduces, not because life changes, but because perception becomes clearer. Gratitude also softens emotional weight. Stress feels lighter when appreciation is practiced alongside effort. Even during challenging times, acknowledging what remains stable creates emotional strength. This strength does not come from ignoring pain, but from balancing it with perspective. Another powerful effect of gratitude is contentment. Contentment does not mean lack of ambition. It means ambition without constant dissatisfaction. Gratitude allows growth without self-criticism. It creates a foundation where progress feels fulfilling rather than exhausting. Relationships deepen through gratitude as well. Expressing appreciation strengthens emotional connection. People feel valued when their efforts are noticed. Gratitude turns ordinary interactions into meaningful exchanges and reduces misunderstandings caused by unspoken expectations. Gratitude also brings the mind into the present moment. When appreciation is felt, attention moves away from regret about the past and anxiety about the future. This presence creates calm and improves focus. The present moment, often overlooked, becomes rich and fulfilling. Practicing gratitude does not require grand gestures. Simple acknowledgement, silent reflection, or writing down small positives is enough. Consistency matters more than intensity. Over time, this practice reshapes thinking patterns and emotional responses. A grateful mind experiences life differently. It sees abundance where others see lack and opportunity where others see inconvenience. When gratitude becomes a habit, happiness stops depending on circumstances and begins to grow from within. Modern life constantly sends messages about what success should look like. Faster growth, higher income, public recognition, and constant visibility are often presented as proof of a meaningful life. Surrounded by these expectations, many people begin living under pressure rather than purpose. Decisions are made to meet standards, not to meet inner values. Pressure creates urgency without direction. It pushes people to move quickly, but not always wisely. When actions are driven by comparison or fear of falling behind, satisfaction becomes temporary. Achievements feel empty because they were pursued for validation rather than fulfillment. The mind remains restless, always chasing the next milestone. Purpose, on the other hand, provides clarity. It may not always feel exciting, but it feels aligned. Purpose does not demand constant approval. It guides decisions quietly, helping people say yes to what matters and no to what distracts. A purposeful life may look simple from the outside, but it feels deeply fulfilling from within. Many people confuse busyness with progress. Days are filled, yet meaning feels absent. This happens when effort is scattered across goals that do not reflect personal values. Purpose brings focus. It reduces unnecessary struggle and channels energy into what truly matters. Pressure also leads to self-judgment. When expectations are externally defined, self-worth becomes unstable. Any delay feels like failure. Any pause feels like weakness. Purpose creates patience. It allows growth to unfold at a natural pace without constant self-criticism. Living with purpose does not mean avoiding challenges. It means choosing challenges that are worth the effort. Difficulties feel lighter when they serve a meaningful direction. Even setbacks make sense when they contribute to something larger than immediate success. Purpose also influences relationships. When people live authentically, connections become more genuine. There is less need to impress and more space to connect honestly. Life becomes less about performance and more about presence. External pressure is loud and demanding. Purpose is quiet but steady. Pressure asks, "How do you appear?" Purpose asks, "Who are you becoming?" One drains energy, the other sustains it. When choices are guided by purpose, life feels intentional. Success becomes a byproduct rather than a burden. Peace grows not from meeting expectations, but from honoring inner truth. In many stages of life, success is defined by achievements that can be measured and displayed. Titles, income, recognition, and influence often become the benchmarks by which people evaluate themselves and others. While these things have their place, they are incomplete measures of a life well lived. A person can achieve much and still feel empty if growth is limited only to the outside. Character is revealed not in moments of celebration, but in moments of pressure. How someone treats people when there is nothing to gain says more than any resume ever could. Kindness, integrity, and humility rarely make headlines, yet they shape the quality of life far more deeply than visible success. As responsibilities grow, it becomes easy to justify harshness in the name of ambition. People begin rushing, interrupting, and ignoring emotional impact while telling themselves it is necessary for progress. Over time, This creates distance from others and from oneself. Success achieved at the cost of empathy leaves behind a quiet sense of isolation. Being a better human requires self-awareness. It means noticing how words affect others, how actions create ripples, and how intentions translate into behavior. Growth is not only about becoming smarter or stronger, it is about becoming more understanding and compassionate. This kind of growth is subtle but transformative. Human values guide decisions when rules fail. Integrity shows itself when shortcuts are available. Honesty appears when lying would be easier. Compassion emerges when judgment feels natural. These qualities are not developed through competition, but through reflection and conscious choice. Another overlooked aspect of being a better human is accountability. Taking responsibility for mistakes without defensiveness builds trust. Apologizing sincerely strengthens relationships and personal dignity. Growth deepens when ego is replaced with openness. A life focused only on achievement often feels rushed, as if something is always missing. A life grounded in character feels complete, even while still evolving. Progress continues, but without the constant hunger for validation. Fulfillment comes from alignment rather than applause. At the end of any journey, what remains are impressions left on people, not milestones reached. How others felt in your presence, how you showed up during difficult moments, and how consistently you lived your values shape your true legacy. Becoming a better human does not require grand gestures. It begins with everyday choices made with awareness, empathy, and honesty. When inner growth matches outer effort, life gains depth, meaning, and quiet strength. As this journey into 2026 begins, remember that life does not ask for perfection, only sincerity. You will stumble, learn, pause, and begin again. And that is not failure, that is growth. What truly matters is not how fast you move, but how consciously you live. Let this year be one where you choose awareness over autopilot, purpose over pressure, peace over constant proving, and character over applause. Let your days reflect who you want to become, not just what you want to achieve. If each day you grow a little kinder, a little wiser, and a little more honest with yourself, then no matter what the calendar shows at the end of the year, 2026 will have been a meaningful success. Step forward with clarity, walk with patience, and live with heart.